All right, going live here. Close out some other windows. And let's see. Gotta share this. Start things off. Let's keep the Kickstarter page open. All right. See if I could just share it on the phone real quick. Let's see what happens here. Hope everyone's having a good Labor Day weekend. Hope it's off to a good start for everybody. All right. Let's see. Share this. We're going to just share this a little bit. Let's see. Get it over to the Argo Comics page. And there we go. And let's just share it to some groups here. Well, I'll start off because a lot of people will be watching this on a replay. We are up to, let me just click over there, $1,173 of our $2,000 goal. So we are over halfway there. 60 backers, which is pretty good, but what had happened is, of course, I'm not looking to price gouge anyone on Kickstarter, so I kept it kind of low. So in that respect, good amount of backers, but still the price point is pretty low there for the physical copies, the digital copies. I had added on art incentives, which from Nature Man artist Zilson Costa, so that's very good. We have a couple more artists who reached out and wanted to help out the campaign, so they want to do kind of like a Nature Man piece of art and then include a commission on that. So I'll get those posted as soon as they get done with those, so that if anyone is interested in that, you'll still get the Winter Wonderland level where you'll get the 3 covers, including the Kickstarter exclusive cover. Let me continue sharing this while I'm talking. So you'll get those covers, the print, and whatever art reward is offered along with a commission from that same artist. So Sullivan Sod, who did work for Argo Comics, he has a piece he's working on. And we also have another piece by Eduardo Viena, who is doing the upcoming Weirdo book for Thunder Zone. So he has a piece under works as well. So you would get the Nature Man piece they do, which is pretty much just a sketch, but then you'll also get a commission and you'll get all the covers, just like what pretty much what you're getting with the Zilson Costa reward level, where you're getting a commission plus the books, plus the print. Let's see. Get this shared around. We did have a question, I believe David Brink posted prior to the broadcast going up, so I'll answer that question. But again, let me just get the sharing out of the way while people tune in. And again, while we're doing this live show, feel free to post any questions you might have, and I will do my best to answer them. Let's see, that is actually group Old Fans, New Comics. So old fans might recall Nature Boy. And again, I'll give the quick rundown. Nature Boy is a public domain character originally created in 1956 by Superman co-creator Jerry Siegel and John Buscema, well-known Marvel artist, having done such books as Conan and Avengers. So he had 3 appearances. And again, I've explained this in some other videos, but Nature Boy number 3 to Nature Boy number 5. There was prestige in having a continued run back then, so they didn't always start with a number 1. They had a number 1 and a number 2 of another title. They switched it over to Nature Boy for 3, 4, and 5, and then they switched it again after that. They kept the numbering the same. Which I guess can be a little confusing. Maybe they should have, Tales of Wonder and then just whatever. Action Comics did that. Actually, Detective Comics, right? Detective Comics, Batman isn't in it till 2070s. Not in it from the beginning. Let's see. Let me just continue sharing so that we can have that done by the time everyone is tuned in here. Let's see. Indie Share, that's an appropriate group to put that in. Let's see. Comic Book Kickstarter. There are a good amount of groups that belong to. I think that might be enough. Again, I don't want to hold everyone up. Let's see. Share it to these last groups here. It's actually public domain Charlton group, and actually Nature Boy was originally published in Charlton. And at the time, of course, Jerry Siegel had already, him and Joe Shuster had sold Superman to DC. They had some additional work at DC, but at some point they no longer worked at DC, and they went into some other companies trying to gain some work. Trying to think if it was, I think Mr. Muscles was also another Jerry Siegel creation. And they also, I'm trying to remember the name, he did a book with a humorous superhero. And I'm sure it's in one of those public domain books that I had been reading as of late. Yeah, Jerry Siegel created like a Funny Man or something like that, I believe it was called. And again, unfortunately, never had the success, Nature Boy included, never had the success of Superman. And I made reference to the public domain books that I had picked up, and I showed this before. I had this Super Weird Heroes with a bunch of public domain characters it pretty much gives a little article, one-page article about the creator and the creation. I'm actually opening it up right here to the Nature Boy one. So, and it has a picture here of Jerry Siegel and John Buscema, Nature Boy, and he has like a little one-page article about, them and their his opinion of the creation, and then you go into like a reprint. Okay. Let's see, is the number on the cover here? Yeah, so there's number 5, his last appearance. But you can see, here's the cover to number 5, where you have Nature Boy there on the lightning, and many who've been to the campaign page know that Alexandra Nascimento did a kind of like a tribute cover to this. A tribute cover to this cover of Nature Boy riding the lightning with Nature Man riding lightning. I have the link to the campaign in the notes, but let me just see if I can get that in the comments as well, just so everyone has it handy. So again, you see here that on this cover, okay, red shirt, flesh, legs, and everything. But then in the book itself, more along the lines of, and all the stories have him colored more along the lines of what our Nature Man reinterpretation has. Okay, the revival is very close to this. Okay, the Jiver from Jupiter. So this robot blasting out some tunes on his flute, kind of like a Pied Piper. This story was where the this robot from Jupiter was able to Pied Piper and mentally control crowds with his music. And there's Nature Boy coming in to save the day. So you can see there, okay, that I guess what they did with this cover was pretty much just for the sake of having some contrast with that yellow lightning. They decided, okay, let's just, who cares? We'll change the colors of the character. We'll give him the red shirt. It'll pop much better against the blue background, and the yellow lightning, make the legs flesh. I guess they weren't, I mean, the continuity police would be out of their minds with that these days. Okay, so we have this book again, Super Weird Heroes. This will actually tie into, let me see, I had a question. I'll see if I could just check it out on my phone. If I can access my page while we're doing this. Because I announced, all right. Oh, we have a few questions there now. So, okay. Dave Brink of Genuine Comics, and they just had Dream Girl come out along with Ajax. Okay, the dual Kickstarter that I backed. And he had asked, I'd like to know what appealed to you about Nature Boy to put effort into creating new adventures for the character. He had a few questions, but I'll answer that one first. So, I had seen some other public domain characters getting revived, and I did enjoy it. You know, I mean, with Argo Comics, I had created all original characters, probably with the exception of my use of Hercules and Thor, which are, of course, public domain in the fact that they're mythological characters. So, but for the most part, I had always been creating my own heroes, and trying to perhaps, have a unique slant on each one of them. So they're not really tribute heroes, with the exception of perhaps Megamax, who was Gladiator's father, and anyone who's reading Argo comics knows these characters. But if you haven't been, then I guess you can look it up. But at any rate, Megamax was somewhat of a Superman-inspired parody or tribute. And, it goes from there. But most of the other characters, I tried to come up with something a little unique. I mean, of course, so much has been done these days. It's hard to have something completely original. But in that respect, when I was looking at the public domain characters that were being done, of course, Dynamite did a whole bunch. My friend Kevin Powers did the Atomic Thunderbolt. So, even though they're public domain, if someone's really utilizing them heavily, of course, we could all still do it. But to me, there's plenty of these characters. So why not just go with one that isn't being used? And, upon reading this, rather sizable book or whatever, there was an appeal to me of Nature Boy, and I saw certain things in it that appealed to me from perhaps like the old Shazam TV show of the 70s. So there were different elements that, appealed to me. Well, in the fact that he called upon his pals from a pantheon of gods, which I guess does equate a little bit to Shazam in general. But in my mind, the way they did it kind of appealed in a Shazam TV show type of way. So I spun it a little in that direction, as you might see in the book. But, and of course, being Superman is my favorite comic book character, there was an appeal with Jerry Siegel having a hand in the creation of Nature Boy. So, all in all, everything aligned for me to use that character. Again, like Dynamite has used Black Terror so heavily that I could put Black Terror in there, but to me it's just a little overlap. Even though, again, we could all use all these characters, it just seems like why not try to do something just like I've done with Argo Comics, do something a little different. So I didn't really see Nature Boy being utilized. I did see him actually pop up in a recent Kickstarter book, which I did support. Yeah, it was an anthology. He had a little 4-page story, and I figured, okay, let me see this interpretation. So I decided to go with Nature Boy. I tracked down all the appearances and researched it. And again, pretty much I took it that 1957 was when he disappeared. So even though there are 3 comics, I guess in my mind there's an additional 4th story that wasn't shown in 1957, and that led to his disappearance. Because again, all these public domain characters, they disappear, but it's not usually, the story isn't like wrapped up like this is what happened to them. So in my mind, there was a 4th appearance of Nature Boy. Perhaps that story will kind of unfold within the pages of Nature Man eventually. And initially, I have it set as a 4-issue miniseries. So I always leave it open-ended in the fact that if people are enjoying it and there's a demand for it, Argo 5 right now. We're up to issue 36. There's no reason that I'm ever going to stop a book if people are enjoying it. But here's the thing, I don't want to leave people hanging on a cliffhanger. So in that respect, I plan for these 4 issues. If there's a demand for it, I'll continue. Unfortunately, the Kickstarter isn't going full blazes, so we have not funded yet. Nature Man is a character with, a Silver Age tie-in. You do see often on Kickstarter, there's, in Diamond and regular comics, PC, politically correct comics, rules. Okay, that's how it has to be. On Kickstarter, it seems like that 90s bad girl type thing kind of came back, and it seems like that shifts a little towards racier material to some degree, which again Diamond doesn't really handle these days. So in that respect, perhaps they're filling a void in doing so. But does leave Nature Man in a little bit of a spot there as far as getting full support, and the fact that it's not quite what Kickstarter is usually known for these days. Pretty much more towards either a racier comic or a kind of like a social cause type comic as well. Those things seem to be doing a little better on Kickstarter, but my interests are what they are. I've spent, I guess, about 13 years publishing Argo comics, and Argo 5 was perhaps toward the beginning somewhat of a learning experience, and it's kind of like when they say you have what is it, like 10,000 hours of anything, that's training before you get good at it. So again, there was some learning going on along the way as I produced Argo 5 and Sorority of Power, and I think these new books that I'm doing for Thunder Zone benefit from that, and the fact that they might be a little more polished or commercially appealing. I'll never really just pander for what I think will do best or what's commercially viable, and the fact that that wouldn't be genuine of me to do so. But in doing that, like Fantagraphics always put out fantastic books like Love and Rockets, which is one of my favorites. A lot of highbrow material, but at one point they were also the publisher of Eros Comics, which was like the X-rated comics or something. And Gary Groth at the time, who was the publisher of Fantagraphics, would say, well, these highly intellectual, critically acclaimed books aren't doing the business, and you're forcing me to publish Eros comics to keep those other books afloat. So in that respect, he stuck to his guns, and to this day they still put out Love and Rockets, which is one of my favorite titles, but he accepted the limitations of quality not always being the lowest common denominator. So in that respect, maybe Nature Man is suffering a little from that. But again, Argo 5 having the run it has had, being one of the longest running self-published comics, I would have to say that, there's a certain amount of determination I have and ability to follow through. So I would have to say, of course, trying to fund the Kickstarter, any help would be greatly appreciated. But, I can't foresee myself not trying to get it out there in some way, shape, or form, regardless of it funding or not. There's a possibility that I would be able to. We still have, I guess, a little less than 2 weeks left, 13 days. I have Weirdo completed. If it would be kind of tough to throw that in and make it a 2-book campaign at this point. And I want to give Weirdo the attention it deserves, but and I think even just a add-on of 1 comic might not give this the boost it needs to succeed. So that was one idea I had. The other idea being, again, this is the first Thunder Zone release. I thought perhaps about going to my other imprint, Argo Comics. All my Kickstarter rewards are shipped directly from the printer. So the printer gets all the addresses, and the printer gets the order, and they print the books and mail them to you. In that respect, I don't have any really autographed copies. I had a couple requests for them, which I fulfilled by having them ship the books to me, autograph, ship them to you direct. It slows everything down, of course, by doing that. But Argo Comics being the other kind of big brother to Thunder Zone, I will probably do a couple levels where I'll include a good number of Argo Comics material. The first 2 trades, Argo 5 Volume 1, Volume 2, and then I'll also add in a number of issues and have them all signed, which, again, we haven't had them signed on previous Kickstarters. So if anyone's big on signatures, which apparently at conventions seems to be a big thing, you'll be able to get that. Let me go back to the questions here, because I just got to the first one. Will he now be part of your Argo universe? Okay, so that's a great question. And that is no. See, Thunder Zone, beyond being some books that I'm putting out, Thunder Zone is a creator-owned universe. So we have other books coming, okay? And I did do a little ad on that. If you scroll down on my wall, you'll see that. We have Supercross coming from Jerry Hines. And again, that'll be in the shared Thunder Zone universe at his discretion, at Jerry's discretion, whatever, he wants to, however he wants to interact those characters with the other characters, that'll be up to him. But that's not in the Argo Comics universe. That is in the Thunder Zone universe. So theoretically, Supercross and Nature Man will be in the same universe. Again, at Jerry's discretion, at my discretion, all the creators will have a say in how much they want to cross over. Could I see a event type comic with all the characters crossing over? I think that would be very fun. I mean, I've been looking into shared comics universes to do fun stuff like that. I think that's great. That's something that I have had crossovers in Argo comics, and as far back as Argo 5 number 3, I crossed over with different publishers. Argo 5 number 41, we have a crossover issue coming, which was part of the Argo 5 Volume 2 Kickstarter, where certain people pledged into that level. I think they got more than their money's worth because we already got commissions to them of their characters. And again, that issue is pretty far along. So issue 41, Argo 5 will have that crossover with different people's characters. So Thunder Zone will be a self-contained universe, not really part of the Argo Comics universe. I've explained this before that Thunder Zone is pretty much like a Vertigo imprint of DC, and but more along the lines, since everyone has their own creator-owned comics, of more along the line of Image. Of course, I'm not delusional enough to think we're doing anything on either of those scales, but it's that concept of, like, you know, that early Image where they all had their own studios, their own books. They crossed over. They even had 1 month where they all drew each other's books. I remember that fondly. So Thunder Zone is an imprint of Argo Comics, but it's an imprint. I think actually Vertigo kind of, those characters do seep into the DC universe with, like, you know, Swamp Thing or whatever being a DC Comics universe, and at one point a Vertigo book, I believe. But Thunder Zone will be its own universe, and Argo Comics will continue as their own universe. Let's see. And are there other Silver Age characters you'd like to work on? And in that respect, I would say to stay tuned for Nature Man number 2 and 3, which people know me. I don't mess around on making comics. So there's work already done on those. And yes, there are other characters, public domain characters, who will show up. Now, Nigel Flood says, oh, well, coincidentally, he says, will Nature Man meet other public domain heroes and villains from his past? Well, from his past, I'd say public domain heroes, no, because, yeah, none of them really showed up. But then I'll say yes, because even though they didn't show up in his book, if we do have Untold Tales, then there is a possibility that Nature Boy did encounter some of these heroes. I'm trying to keep whatever heroes that I'm utilizing active during their publication dates. Okay, it's a little bit of a challenge, but it's a challenge that I decided to take up. And so in that respect, there is possibility, a strong possibility, that Nature Man will meet up with other public domain heroes that he has known. Villains, I don't think I'll be using the driver from Jupiter that we just showed, at least in the first arc. But yeah, you never know. Some of these concepts are pretty interesting, and I wouldn't rule anything out. And then Gilbert Monsanto posted an update of the Nature Man cover that he's doing. Okay, we're going to show a screen on a screen here. I don't know. Oh, there we go, coming into focus a little bit. It's hard to get this just right here. But there's Gilbert's awe-inspiring Nature Man cover for a future issue. Well, there's an update on another Kickstarter that I supported, Agent Solo. Okay, you'll see that on my wall as well. I kind of make it a habit. I'll get emails or private messages of people wanting me to support the Kickstarters, knowing that I do those indie haul videos, and I'm a big supporter of indie comics. You know, indie superheroes is usually my predominant interest, but as many of you know, I just said Love and Rockets, for instance. There are books that I buy outside of that market, and in that respect, I will look over my backer list from my Kickstarter campaigns if it's a book that I am kind of on the fence about. I mean, there's plenty of books, plenty of creators I support without ever having a pledge from them. But, you know, on occasion, I'm like, and then I look through my backer list, and if they backed me, then regardless, I'm going to back them. That's just kind of like on principle. But in other respects, you know, they might have a project that doesn't appeal to me, and they never back me as well. So I buy enough indie comics, and I have way more than my free time to read allows. So, you know, as any of us, none of us can support every indie comic there. But at this point, if anyone has an active campaign and you're looking to kind of trade pledges, just like at a convention, kind of like towards the end, a lot of us with tables at the convention might trade comics. So I'm down for trading comics if people are looking for support right now. Did I ever mention during this broadcast that Colossus is my favorite X-Man? There he is. All right. Well, I pulled this out. Going back to Jerry Siegel, we have the Golden Age Superman, Volume 1. My favorite character. And I'd like to think that some of these concepts, Superman has kept going the whole way through. So I'd like to think that there is some viability to this other Jerry Siegel creation. So again, in honor of Superman's great history, I'm hoping that I can bring back another Siegel creation with Nature Boy coming back as Nature Man. And here's a proof copy of #1. So you can see I don't want to spoil the comic. Comic's done. It's guaranteed for people as long as we can fund it. And again, the link is in the notes up there and in the comments. So if it's possible for anyone to, you know, support or share the campaign, I'd really like to see this book made. These are already shown on the website, so you can see it's fully done. A little sneak peek of, we got Ryan Brown of God Hates Astronauts did that pinup, which is included in the book. I guess God Ace Astronauts and Blast Furnace, Cursed Words, which he's doing now, which also, those are some of my favorite indies. And I was honored that he took it upon himself to do that Nature Man piece. And it's included in the book. I had an artist extraordinaire here and fellow member of ICC, John Jones, do this Nature Man pinup. Oops, I don't want to show the last page there. Another Nature Man pinup that you could freeze frame those and check them out. So I have actually Jerry Hines kind of doing some edits on the cover here. So I'll have, I ordered a few proofs, so maybe they'll be kind of like first printings, and maybe what I'll do is autograph them as a first printing to go along with that Argo Comics autograph pack that I'll put together. Let me just see, scroll a little bit, see if we have any questions here. See some people had joined in, which I appreciate. I'm not going to hold everyone up for too long. If there are not more questions than the ones I already went over, I can answer any Argo Comics questions as well. I'll actually, why not do an Argo Comics update a little bit? We have Argo 5, I believe 32 and 33 are at the printer. No, wait, 30, 33, 34 at the printer, along with Impact International #1. Okay, so we have those books at the printer already, just waiting for them to list those comics. And 35 and 36 of Argo 5 have been completed, so we're just proofreading, formatting to get those going. And then, let's see, well, 37 is in the lettering phase, okay? And then there's work done on all the issues, again, leading up to 41. I guess most of it just needs to get lettered. Francisco Zamora has been doing an amazing job on the lettering of that book. So we're keeping on point as far as getting Argo 5 completed and released. Impact International, we have Will Blainett wrote that. He's been asking me when it's going to be released. I submitted it, so I'm hoping, Indie Planet has a lot of indie comics coming in these days, so it's just a matter of when they can get a chance to list all these books. I haven't been pushing them too much on the issue because right now Nature Man seems to be taking up a lot of my time and trying to promote and fund that. If we can get that funded, I can kind of turn my attentions back towards a number of books we have in the works, which includes the future issues of Nature Man, getting the Weirdo book ready for print, and what was the other one? Oh, well, Big Ass Blues, we got a good number of that ready to go as well, and that should pair up with Sumo Boy. So Sumo Boy is another book where I want to continue that, and I have all these books, working on them all. They kind of lost some of their steam in the fact that I had to turn my attentions towards this Kickstarter. Somehow with the metrics of Kickstarter, even if you're just putting $1 in to support the project, that still somehow helps the metrics and helps get it in front of more eyes. But of course, pledging to actually get the book would be the highest recommendation. All right, so let me scroll up again, just make sure I'm not missing anything. And I'm gonna again thank everyone who was able to watch it live, but it'll be up for the replays and people can ask questions afterwards, and I would give it a shot in answering them post the live show. Yeah, I think I showed everything that we have to show at this point for Nature Man. Again, people are welcome to not only pledge, but just share the project, get it out there. Still hoping we can, pull it all together. Oh, and on the Nature Man feats of strength, and it seemed I got more messages from people saying, don't hurt yourself, than, I can't wait for the next one. So, and actually at that point, I think we lost a pledge. I didn't want anyone worrying that I was going to hurt myself doing $1 per pound on the leg press. So I discontinued the feats of strength. If there had been a tidal wave of, we want that, then, perhaps I would have considered it. But in that respect, the feats of strength, actually, I told you what's happening is that on some Kickstarters, what they do is they'll have, this is what it's supposed to be. I kind of did it wrong, actually. The live show, like right now, the guy would have a bottle of hot sauce, and he'd say, okay, if I get a $50 pledge right now, I'll drink this bottle of hot sauce. And then if the pledge came in, he would drink the hot sauce, and then he would turn all different shades of red. So that was happening as the live show was going on. So my kind of feats of strength was not done correctly, because it would have been, to do it at that point to kind of get a pledge. I'm going to just view right now to see if, again, people often try to drum up pledges during the live show, and give a shout out to someone who pledges during the live show. So I don't think it happened, but let me pop over, see if anyone had pledged during the show, which we did get a pledge earlier today, but it wasn't from the live show. So, but again, if you're watching this on a replay, please feel free to pledge and share, and I'll again answer any questions that are posted after the live show. Okay, so still before 8. You didn't miss any primetime shows. Fear the Walking Dead is on a bit later, so no one missed anything. And I'll thank everyone who tuned in, and I'll see you on another live show.